Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be reading a multi-character reader by me, so let's get into it. Albedo. Albedo was very sly and usually teased already. So when he actually meant to tease you, it wasn't escapable. And you're going to be embarrassed for sure. But hey, he was also hot while doing it. So could you really complain about it? No, you couldn't. And that's why, when the two of you went out for dinner, and you sat next to him, when the waiter came, he squeezed your thigh, telling you that he will pick for you this time. And you could not just reject that. Mostly because you were too embarrassed, too focused on the hand roaming over your thighs in the damn restaurant while everyone was sitting there. Thankfully, and much to your fortunate self, the waiter did not notice, and you were glad to avoid that embarrassment, but you were blushing right after he left, while Albedo just gave you a smile of his. One that told you that this was not going to be the final instance of this tonight, and that there was more to come, and more intimate things to happen later on. After all, it was your anniversary, and it had to be special. Venti. Venti was such a tease, and it was also, most of the time, an accident, or just a way to embarrass you. Gently. But sometimes it went too far. And such, when he was meeting his old friends, and the two of you were together, they asked him about you, and decided to ask how the two of you fell in love. And Venti just decided to tell the embarrassing story of how you fell in love with him. And that was the most embarrassing thing ever, because he was drunk and he was singing, and yet it was the best thing you've ever heard. You were such a sap, to be honest. And honestly, Charlie was the only person, and Kusanai, too, the only people who actually seemed to like your love story. Meanwhile, a few of the other gods, namely Belle and her friend Miko, were not too fond of this. Belle telling you that honestly no one should be able to bear Venti. She does not see what's so special about him. She really loved taking jabs at her old friend, mostly because he was a source of annoyance to her for a very long time. Kazuha, well, you were talking with an old friend, and Kazuha, you didn't know him to be so jealous, but apparently he was, and this was just something that you got to know that day. In a very fortunate way, apparently, because, well, he was being overly affectionate just to show off who you really belong to. So when your friend got overly touchy with you and tried to hug you, Kazuha cut him off and wrapped his arm around your waist instead, pulling you close to him and cupping your face in his hand, kissing you gently and softly, all while looking at the man. Then he says, "Well, I'll do more, but that's for us at home. Wait, we don't want you to be so noisy in front of everyone." And that just sent you red, while your friend coughed awkwardly, feeling like he was intruding on that moment and telling you that he will just be off to doing something more, useful. He really just wanted to excuse himself and not have to put up with Kaza being like that again, which for Kaza was a giant relief, because honestly, he did not like the guy. Scaramouche. Well, Scaramouche has not been keen on telling anyone in the Patui that the two of you were partners, mostly because he did not consider himself close with them. And he didn't want to be either. He didn't like them. In fact, he hated them. and could not wait to be done with his end goal, just to leave them, for they have only used them for their own gain. But regardless of all of that, they wanted to visit him in Shniznaha, and basically you were stopped by the Fatui outside while they investigated you. And you're so lucky as to have Scaramouche notice you outside. He stopped them, pushing them away, and asking how they had the audacity to do this to you. They were really confused, not knowing who you were, but they apologized nonetheless. And afterwards, Scaramouche grabbed you close to him, hugging you close, and whispering in your ear. That's what I told you beforehand, alright? Unless what? Unless you want me to kiss your ear. And that was very unusual of him. If it was anyone else, perhaps this would not be considered teasing. But Skara, well, your relationship was really complicated and special. And it was not usually very affectionate. But whenever it happened, it always made your heart bounce and jump, leaping out of your chest from how happy you are. Xiao hardly ever got like this. But most of the things in your life were unexpected. And so was becoming the partner of an adeptus. So could this really be strange to you? Probably not. Not as you were pinned to the wall by the adeptus. But he looked at you, eyes shining like fire. And there was a lot in those eyes that needed describing. But there was also a lot that you understood. Just be quiet, unless you want anyone else to hear us. He whispered, and then leaned in, biting the side of her neck as you let out a soft whimper while he kissed over it, wrapping an arm around your waist and letting go of your wrists, while your hands tangled up in his hair as he kissed you in the alleyway. Thankfully, it was so dark and late at night that no one happened to come by and see you. But you're still embarrassed over the entire encounter, your face bright red by the time you went home. And you could tell that even Xiao was blushing, but this would change things. And he also told you that he was more bald than before, which meant that things were going to be very interesting in the next upcoming months.